Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajana Ranjana Jaya Jayo Yashodanandana Jayo Vrajajanaranja Jayo Yashodanandana Jayo Vrajajanaranja Jayo Yamunatiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Jayo Yamunatiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Yamunatiravanachari Jayo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
So I'm going to do the little presentation. So I'm going to see. Still not showing up. So it's coming up. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to talk on a little interesting topic here from Bhagavad Gita. So what we see depends on what we want to see. So in reality what happens, so we all had our perspectives, our notions, and when we go anywhere, our notions and perspectives comes along with us. And so that also kinds of dictates to a good extent on how we perceive things. For example, someone visits a city and a person who is very much addicted to intoxication, so he will always look for some place where he can always find his booze and try to be happy. So that is how somebody who is addicted, so definitely that's how they're going to look at things, that's how they're going to plan things. And so this is very true with everything. So just like a good example from Srimad Bhagavatam is that when Lord Krishna was visiting Mathura for the first time, and he entered the arena of King Kamsa. So King Kamsa had made a very elaborate arrangement to make sure Krishna comes, and when he comes, then he had a very elaborate and meticulous plan on how to kill him. So when Krishna came into the arena of Kamsa, then it was filled with people, obviously, and they all looked at Krishna. They all saw him differently. So the people saw it's a very cute little young boy. Most of the people. Some people saw as he is Cupid personified, ladies and young girls, and some others saw him to be the goal of all the yogis, Yogeshwara. So he could immediately see his divine personality. And of course his parents saw him as a wonderful child. Kamsa saw it as death personified. So like that, everybody saw Krishna differently. So because they have their perspectives and notions based on their relationship with Krishna. So, and even when Krishna was there, Krishna himself says that avajananti mamuda manashim tanumashtritaha. So people think that I take a human body. Param bhavam ajananto mama bhutva maheshwaram. So they do not know my divine personality. And many others, most of them thought Krishna is some very special person. He had some yogic siddhis, some yogic powers with which he could do some magic. And they always wanted to minimize his personality. They always wanted to minimize his divine nature. Wanted to make things one amongst themselves. So that is the nature of human mind. Human mind always tries to reduce things to what they already know. So even the scientists, so when they see things, they always wanted to see things from the things that they already understood. So in the mid-19th century, so there was a complete game changer in terms of understanding the reality. That's where this quantum physics and quantum mechanics came into picture. So they started to see things differently. But well before that, everything was seen from the Newtonian laws. How this is working because of this. And even if something was not in agreement with those Newtonian laws, they would try to reduce it to that. Try to make, this is some measurement in our instrumentation, this is this is that. They always come up with some explanation for things. So that is the nature of the human mind. The human mind always tries to reduce things to their understanding, current understanding. So that is true. Even when Lord Krishna came into this world, his birth was special, and his upcoming was very special, and he was killing demons at will. But still comes a thought, he's conquerable. He can somehow make some plans, and we can definitely execute and kill him, finish it off. Then I'm free from any kind of death sentence, so I can live forever. So that is how demons think. Demons think they can make control. They can control the situation, and by hook or crook, or some magic or black magic, somehow or other you can get over the immediate challenge in front of you. So, coming to Bhagavad Gita also, so one should come with a very open mind and not see things from the same reductionistic perspective. So, people approach Bhagavad Gita as some religious text. Let me read Bhagavad Gita, let's see what it has got to say. And they come with a notion, they come with a prejudice. And either the business people see that as a book of business, how we can control people, manage people. It's a management book. And some people think it's a good scientific information is there. I like to use that for that purpose. And so people approach Bhagavad Gita in a different way. Even Lord Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatha mam prapatyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. However people approach me, I deal with them accordingly. So people come with different notions, so they don't get the essence of Bhagavad Gita. They don't get the message of Bhagavad Gita. Rather, they take some message, some things according to their perspective. So just like a person with a green or a red glasses, he's going to see everything red. So there's a filter in front of you, and there's a filter that is thrown in front of us. And Bhagavad Gita also says that, Isha Upanishad also says that. Krishna says there's a wheel of perspective that is thrown in front of us, and we see things from that perspective. So here we're going to see some interesting information from Bhagavad Gita on that. So we talked about the preconceived notions, so how we are all victim to that notions, and based on that we fail to see some good things, or we fail to see some bad things. Right. So one good example is Duryodhana. So when Duryodhana, we all know, so he first came to Indraprastha, the palace of the Pandavas. So he saw the opulence there. First they cast off the Pandavas, giving them a barren land called Khandavaprastha. And nobody thought anything good can come out of it. It's such a useless place. And let's give them some useless place, and then we don't get a bad name that we do not give them anything. So they divided the kingdom into half and gave the useless part to the Pandavas. And they retained Hastinapur, which is a well-developed city and the capital of the kingdom. So, by means of their good fortune, the Krishna's blessings, Pandavas, they got the blessings of the demigods, and they had the architect of the demons, Maya Dhanama. So he constructed a very beautiful palace. It was called Indraprastha. And the Pandavas also decided to do Rajasurya Yajna, which is a very special sacrifice which will be done only by very great kings who have dominion over the whole world. So, and of course they invited every king, everybody, and many people came, including the Kauravas. They also came there. So Duryodhana also came to the Indraprastha. And when he saw the Indraprastha, the palace, very beautiful and very artistic and extremely magical and very mystical. So he was burning with jealousy and he was burning with envy. What had happened? So we thought they're going to just falter, they're going to become completely useless, keeping this useless piece of land. But now what did they do? They developed this into a very beautiful place. So they could not believe that this happened. And they were burning with jealousy. And so the jealousy they did not know what they were doing. So Duryodhana was just taking a tour of the entire place, and he could not see that there was water in front of him. He was just stepping into it just like he would step on a staircase, and he fell into the water. So like that, we fail to see things as they are if we don't have a proper perspective. So it's very important to cultivate a proper perspective. So even when Lord Krishna came to the Hastinapur in order to give the message of peace, so you both are brothers, and the Pandavas deserve their kingdom back as per the promise that you have made. After so many years of living in the forest, you promised them to give back their kingdom. So you should give back their kingdom. So he wanted to ask them on behalf of the Pandavas in a very peaceful way. And he didn't want there should be any war, because war means bloodshed. It's not just war between the two rival kings, but it's also so many people involved. The soldiers are going to fight. Why should innocent people be killed? So that was his argument. He tried to make sense, tried to bring sense to the followers. But they were completely blind to the good sense that they are making. In fact, just before that peace proposal, so all the Kauravas had come to attack the kingdom of Virata, where Pandavas were in exile. And Arjuna came, and Arjuna single-handedly defeated all of them. And that was fresh in their minds. But still, they were blind with rage and blind with jealousy. And they didn't want to take any chances. They didn't want to give the Pandavas back their rightful kingdom. So they could not see the good sense that Krishna was making. They could not see the good sense that Vidura was trying to give them. So when Vidura also counseled them, he also said, no, it's not proper. So you should be giving back their kingdom. And not just from the perspective of Dharma, but also look for your own good. So if you're going to fight with them, you're not going to win the war. But the Kauravas did not think so. They thought that by their own hook or crook means, they can easily conquer the Pandavas, just like how they conquered them with the dice game. And that is somehow that they can achieve that with all this, at his disposal. He had Shakuni, he had all Karna, different people. So we thought it's easy to do something like that. And again, we can do the same thing. Again, we can win the war by deceit or by hook or crook. So that was the Duryodhana's plan. So he could not see the reality in front of him. So in fact, Krishna showed his universal form in the court of Hastinapur. When Duryodhana wanted to capture him, wanted to put him in the prison. So he showed, it's not in your bounds, you cannot do anything to me. And in spite of that, so Duryodhana was not able to understand the good message, and he wanted to fight. So that's what we call as preconceived notions. So people have notions that this can be done like this, and they know what they really want. So even if they see something beyond that, they cannot see that. They cannot really see the reality. They only see what they want to see. So that is what we're going to address here. So we're going to see from the Bhagavad Gita how this is the general thing with every one of us. So we all see what we want to see or what we are given to see, and how we should break this wall of the wheel of notions that is in front of us, and how we can start seeing the reality as it is. So another example from Ramayana is the Ravana. So Ravana, as we know, is also a very powerful king. He was master of all arts. So you name it, he was master of that. He was very good in music. He would compose very beautiful songs, and he pleased Lord Shiva in his songs. And he was very good in the knowledge of Vedas. He was very good in archery. He was very good at any science you take. So anything, he was the best in it. Nobody could even compete him. And but yet he could not conquer his urge for sense gratification. So he was always wanting to give in to his different allurements and different senses, full of senses. So he would even desire to enjoy Mother Sita, the goddess of fortune, the mother of the entire world. So that is what happens. So in spite of all warnings, he had good counsel. So at different points of time, Vibhishna did give him good counsel. This is not proper. But he thought nobody can conquer him, and whatever he did is right. The might is right. That was his perspective. And whatever he did, nobody's had to question him. Nobody can do anything. And multiple situations, even after the war started with Lord Rama, he could see that he was not invisible. He is conquerable. He could see his own generals falling in front of Lord Rama's army. So Kumbhakarna fell, and his sons also were killed in the very first day of battle. So all this happened, but he was not giving up. He was sure somehow or other he can win the war. All it requires is some black magic, do this or do that. First he thought he can just win the war with brute force. And when that was not happening, so he thought he can win the war by cheating. And he would try to use his son Indrajit to play some black magic and cheat them or attack them by black magic. And when that also was failing, then he would go to any extent to win the war. So even he was wanting to kill Mother Sita in front of Lord Ram in order to make him give up the war. So he was such a person, somebody who could not see the truth. So his Vibhishna, his brother, told him the truth, was keep counseling him and kicked him out. And then his father, and he also came, and his mother also came, and he gave him good advice. This is not proper. So you can see all your son, even Indrajit, was killed. So now at least you give up the war. So his wife also came and counseled him. He was not ready to listen to anybody, because he was completely taken over by his rage and his desire to conquer, irrespective of whether it is right or wrong. So that is what happens. So one should be very careful about this. So this happens to everybody at different degree, at different levels. So we all are a victim of illusion to different degrees. So we might think we are religious, but we have our own different frailties. We have our own different places where we are not really doing dharma properly. So we have to, but we give a good generalization, or we give an try to justification in order to say, oh, this is all right because of this or because of that reasons. So that's very important. So one should always be very careful in following the dharma properly. So that requires a good vision of what is reality. Without that, you're going to really fall victim to our own different justifications and generalizations, which is the dictates of our mind. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, there are three places where the lust sits, or the desire sits. One is the mind, the intelligence, and the senses. So and Krishna warns Arjuna, guard against these three different enemies. These are three gateways to hell, it says. So one should guard against this. So the mind is also an enemy. So it can convince us on things which we know very well it is wrong. Give a justification. Oh, it's alright to skip chanting Hare Krishna. It is alright to do this because of this. You're not well. You don't have money. Others people have money, so they're able to follow that. So you don't have money. You should first get money. So like that, there is mind always gives different kind of justifications, and we always fall victim to it. So everybody has a reason to do things. A robber has a reason to rob. A politician has a reason to cheat, and everybody has their own different reasons to do things. The question is whether are we in tune with the reality? Are we in tune with the teachings of Bhagavad Gita? That's what is the absolute benchmark. So that's the only way we can save ourselves from this different mental jugglery which pushes us towards doing wrong things. So Sri Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also that the mind is the best friend or the mind is the best enemy. Uddare atmanam avasade atmeva atmano bandhur atmeva ripur atmanah. The mind is the best friend. Atmeva atmano bandhur. And atmeva ripur atmanah. So mind can be the worst enemy as well. So don't fully trust your mind. So Krishna is saying that to Arjuna. So that's exactly the veil of illusion. So the mind is one of the places where we are likely to get, we are likely to lose the battle. So we'll see from Bhagavad Gita on this what Krishna has to say. We saw this. So this is a verse from 15th chapter, 10th verse. Utkramantam sitam vapi punjana vagunanvitam vimudana anupashyanti pashyanti jnana chakshusha. The foolish can understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can he understand what sort of body enjoys the spell of the modes of nature. I read it again. What sort of body he enjoys the modes of material nature. Bunjanam va guna anvitam means that the living entity is a victim of the guna or the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Vimuda nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. It's a very beautiful word. So the one who is bewildered, Muda, Krishna says, is a foolish person. So he is bewildered. He does not see. Even if you show him the reality, he will not see that. You are trained to see what you are told to see by the mind, by the intelligence, by the senses. So this is always dictating you different things. There's a very nice story of a king, Krishna Devaraya. So King Krishna Devaraya was a very well-known king in the South India in the medieval times, and he had a very intelligent minister in his court. His name was Pandit Ramakrishna, Tenali Rama. So this Tenali Rama was a very intelligent minister. So there was a talk, and so when the talk was in the court, they were suggesting, just like a cat will never refuse a milk, like that, this will never fail. So then the talk was coming, and the king was asking, so will there be a cat which will not drink milk? So no, everybody said, no, all cats will drink milk. So there will not be a cat which will not drink milk. So then Tenali Rama, so he stood up and he said, I take up the challenge. I will show a cat which will not drink milk. So then, so he went to his home, and he had a cat, of course, in his home. And of course, all cats drink milk. So he decided to give milk to the cat, which is not cold, very hot milk. So then the cat obviously took once, and then he thought milk is always going to be hot. So you take milk, then your tongue is going to burn. So then he brought the cat to the king, the courtyard of the king. Then he said, "Look here, this cat will not drink milk. Try to give it milk, it will not drink." Then the king said, "All right, let's see that." So he put milk in front of the cat, and as soon as the cat saw the milk, it ran away. So because the cat thought milk is going to be hot always. So that is how it's illusion. So like that, we all are also kind of at different points of time. So we have our own preconceived notions. And that's all to some extent dictated by our gunas. So the gunas means the material modes. The material modes of nature. There are three of them. So most of you might be knowing what are those gunas. Can somebody say the three gunas?
Rajgun, Tamgun, Satgun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the three gunas are controlling the entire modes of material nature. Also, all this, everything happening in the world is happening by this, the dictates of the three gunas. They're acting in their capacity, and it's influencing our mind, influencing our intellect, influencing our senses. So we all are just becoming controlled by these three gunas, to some extent like robots. And so we go on doing different things, our activities, according to the dictates of our modes of material nature. So that is why astrology also works. Astrology is a science which uses your gunas, combination of your gunas, and then predicts this is how you're going to act, this is how you're going to do things, this is what is going to happen to you. So that's how they're able to make predictions, because of our gunas, the three modes of material nature, which is controlling us. So Krishna is saying here, Pashyanti Jnana Chakshusha. So one who is in knowledge, so he will not be bewildered. So he is saying to Arjuna that one should cultivate knowledge. Not the knowledge that tells us where I can make good money, or where I can I can have a good retirement, or where should be my next vacation. Not that knowledge. Knowledge which tells us how to manage ourselves, how to manage our nature. So that is very, very important. That's more important than the knowledge of the material nature and how it will help us to lead a life very comfortably. Both of them are important. But what is more important? More important is the spiritual knowledge. The spiritual knowledge will help us decipher good from bad. Decipher that is good for us and not good for us. It helps us to discriminate things. So that intelligence is required. That is what we're going to see next. So there is something called as gunas that Bhagavad Gita describes very beautifully. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. So the guna is the one which actually controls you, which makes you do things, and which makes you act in a certain way. So know Arjuna and try to understand and control it. So he says. So where do we get this nature from? So this nature comes to us from the time of birth, comes to us from the previous life, and which decides time of birth, which decides our combination of our gunas, which controls us. And we also acquire different nature through our association with different things, with material nature, with our friends, with our relatives, and constantly we are acquiring new and new nature. So that is how this world works. So that is what it says in the next verse of the Bhagavad Gita. It says that Yatanto yoginas chainam pashyanti atmani avashtitam yatanto api akritatmano nainam pashyati achetasaha. So the living entity thus taking another gross body after giving up this old body obtains a certain type of eye, ear, tongue, nose, sense of touch, the five senses, which are grouped along with the mind. So he thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. So you can see the veil of illusion, veil of perception is already given to us. So a tiger knows what is its food. It doesn't have to be taught. Or the cow knows what it needs to eat. No, you don't see any glitches anywhere in the material nature. So it's all well planned and well executed. Because there's three modes of material nature in work. It's behind the scenes, it is doing all these things. It's making a tiger think it's a tiger, it's making the cow think it's a cow. And it's making us think what we are also. So all these things is controlling us. All these things is put in place to make us see what we like to see, or what has to be, what we should see. That's why Duryodhana is not able to see the good things when somebody tells him good things. That's why Ravana is not able to hear good things, even when it was told by his near and dear. So this is a very important thing. So what is the solution? Solution is, so can we change this destiny, which is now we see is a combination of three modes, which is thrown in front of us, which is controlling us. So first thing is that, so we need to take control over what you see. So as Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in the second chapter, Jayato Vishayo Pumsan Shangasteshu Vijayade Sangat Sanjayade Kama Kama Krodha Vijayade Krodha Bhavati Sammoha Sammoha Spriti Vibramaha Spriti Bhamshat Buddhi Nasho Pranashati. So it all starts with our sense perception. Senses needs to be purified. So when the senses are purified, then it's directly connected to the mind. The mind is perceiving through the senses and it is processing the information. And the intelligence is further distinguishing and discriminating the information that is coming. So this is all well connected, the senses, the mind and the intelligence. So Krishna also says that. So one is senior to the other. So sense starts with the senses. So that's why it is said in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu also that Atha Sri Krishna Namadir Na Bhavet Grahyam Indriya Sevo Mukhe Jihvado Swayam Eva Spuritila. So Indriya or the senses is the key. So by using the senses properly, by regulating the use of the senses, then we can purify what we see, what we hear, and what we taste and everything. Then automatically one part is conquered. And then the mind is there. The mind is still not purified. Although you feed in good things. Let's say you completely abstain from watching unnecessary things in the YouTube. And let's say you abstain from eating unnecessary things or drinking unnecessary things, from intoxication, from everything. So you have stopped all your senses from doing the wrong things. But your mind is still there. How are you going to deal with the mind? The mind is a storehouse of our previous experiences. It's going to bring different thoughts. And that's going to still can pull you down. So Krishna also says that. So one should, even if somebody is controlling their senses by external means, by physical means, still they can get derailed, they can get distracted if the mind is not controlled, because it has the previous experience. So he has the experience of the previous experience of the particular sense object. So one should control the mind. So controlling of the mind comes by intelligence. So mind is the most difficult part, because mind is like constantly processing some information. So it cannot put the mind still, especially in Kali Yuga. So there used to be, in the previous yugas, they used to do meditation, they used to do yoga, and they used to control the mind, put the mind in one place. But in Kali Yuga, it's very difficult to do that. It's going to be extremely difficult to do anything controlling the mind. That's why even Arjuna says, I can even control the wind, Krishna, but how do we control the mind? It's impossible. It's difficult. So that's why Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita also, that one should use their intelligence. Indriyani paranyahu indriyeva paramanaha manasastu paro buddhihi. So buddhihi, intelligence is much more strong or powerful. Use the intelligence to control the mind. Then it will be perfect. So how do we use the intelligence to control the mind? So that happens by enlightening the intelligence with the right things. So because the mind has the discrimination power to distinguish between right and wrong. Should I do this or not do this? It can give you a correct answer. But if the mind is very powerful, it can overpower the intelligence. So, just like many times it has happened to all of us. We know what is right or wrong, but we just go ahead and do the wrong thing because we are accustomed to doing it, or the senses are so powerful, it drags us to do that. So that's what happens. So if you don't have the right controller controlling the right thing, the wrong controller will control the wrong thing. That's what happens. So one has to use one's intelligence and sharpen the intelligence to and give the intelligence all the support and all the determination and confidence to take right decisions. So that requires a little bit of restraint for sure. So but that restraint will help us in the long run. So it will be easy for us to conquer. That's what happens. Someone is addicted to smoking. Right? Someone is addicted to smoking, so you are first given something that is replaces the smoke and gives the same kind of a pleasure or a feeling. Then eventually you also withdraw yourself from that substance. So that's how you can quit smoking. So if not for that, so there has to be a practical way to come out of this attachment to the senses. And that's what is Krishna Prashadam. And that's what is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is using our senses in the service of Krishna. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uttama. So that is an easy process. Bhakti means associating the sense object with Krishna, using the senses to serve Krishna. So Krishna is within our heart and we have our senses. So use the senses which makes your Krishna happy in our heart. So that should be the goal. We should use our intelligence, we should use our senses, and we should use our mind in properly boldening and strengthening the intelligence to conquer the mind and the mind to conquer the senses. That is what Krishna's recommendation. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya paramanaha manasastu paro buddhir yo buddhi sta eva saha. So the soul is higher than the intelligence, Krishna says. So one should use our soul. Soul has a desiring capacity. So if we desire the right things, we can control the intelligence. We can regulate the intelligence to control the mind. And the mind can be regulated, it can control the senses. So the upward trajectory does not work. Senses to mind, the mind to intelligence, and intelligence to soul. That doesn't always work. The restraint is sometimes going to break away. So we should use the knowledge of the soul, knowledge of the Supreme Lord, which is there in the Bhagavad Gita, and purify the intelligence by reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing, and also purify the senses by feeding the right things. Then you will see that the sense objects which was putting you down, it will no more distract you. Even if it is there in front of us, it will not distract you. Because your mind is clear, your thoughts are clear, your desires are also clear. It all becomes purified. Just like you put an iron rod inside fire, it gets a quality of fire. Same way, use your senses in service of Krishna, use it to take Krishna Prashadam, use it to hear, sing Kirtana, use it to hear Bhagavad Gita, use it to hear to Srimad Bhagavatam continuously. And over a period of time, all this dirt that is accumulated in the three places will be washed away. And we'll have a clarity in mind, clarity in intelligence, and we will be able to distinguish what is right and wrong, and we will always be on the right path. So I'd like to conclude, three important things to stay enlightened is knowledge. Knowledge is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. An association, we should keep the right association so that we don't again associate with the bad elements, the bad modes of nature. So the third one is purification. So all this leads to purification. There should be constant effort for purification. There is no pain, no gain. So there is still some pain has to be taken in order to gain control over your senses, gain control over your mind. So that's not really very difficult. Just avoiding unnecessary things, which is good for you, good for your body, good for your mind, which will make you happy and peaceful, and doing the right things, which will help you in become really happy. So that is chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare very sublime and very easy to perform, and it is very blissful. And there's no need to do anything artificial. It's a very natural from the beginning to do. And we can definitely realize the peace and happiness. And to stop here and open for any questions, any comments. So if there's nothing, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
I was going to ask, but I didn't want to keep anyone from the side. What was your preconceived notion before when you saw Bhagavad Gita as it is?
Yeah, when we sell Bhagavad Gita, we think that this person won't be interested, so we come with some filters in mind. This person, and then we tend to not approach them people. Personally. Definitely I had. So I got Bhagavad Gita, which was in a different language. So it was in Tamil, so not in English. So I kind of heard about ISKCON somewhere, but I did not know this was ISKCON. So it was in different language. And I had some, I thought this is doesn't look appropriate, this was for this. And then I started to one day read the book.
Yes.
And then I read the perspective change.
Curiosity got you into
Yes.
it.
Yes. The outlook always is not the right thing.
I was saying, I can see the pictures. I was about 10 years old. My mother got it in the airport, put it on the shelf, and I just like, I guess I like the cover and started looking at all the pictures. That's all I remember. Yeah. So it probably is so powerful. They isolate themselves.
Yes, definitely. Maybe if I knew it was ISKCON, then maybe I would have read the book also. But somehow I wasn't thinking. I had some, I didn't understand both. I felt I had some connect, some good thinking about ISKCON. Something from my previous life or something, so I felt good about ISKCON. But I didn't know this was ISKCON. Yeah. That was very interesting.
And also, when I was growing up, there was the Moonies. Did you hear about that cult? And my mother was so worried, like they were talking about the Moonies and this and that. And when I first met devotees, they put me in a car with them, and the guy took off his wings, and then they started chanting. So I'm thinking, what are these people? What are they doing? But and I was like, even looking, how am I going to get away? If I have to. But it was just that when finally got to the temple, I started to relax. I saw children was mercy, and yeah, they were genuine, and I could say there was something special. Oh, and their faces were really bright, the devotee faces. Yeah. Well, thank you for the remembrance.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
You spoke so good.
Thank you.
It was very nice.
Thank you.
I like it.
Oh, you want to switch this out?
Yeah, I was coming to switch that.
From Bengal?
I am from Karnataka.
Karnataka?
Yeah.
Oh, good. South India.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, you live up here too?
Yeah, I live here.
You're staying here, yeah. We
Karnataka,
saw your
Bangalore?